Welcome to another camping adventure as we return to the Bankhead National Forest, but things don't quite go as planned, so stick around for the full video. Our intended route was about 140 miles of Forest Service roads zigzagging through the National Forest with lots of camping options. As we hit the trail, we found a beautiful sunny fall day. Now, we've been to the Bankhead National Forest many times before and have a few other videos out there on it, so we'll put the links to those videos down in the description below. Blue skies and the brush stroke clouds, we really lucked out on a really nice day for a ride. So for our first night stay, we plan to stay at the Brushy Lake recreational area. Alright, so at this point, we got to Brushy Creek, and even though it was around 1 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, and it is a first come, first serve location with only 13 sites, never would we have thought that Brushy Creek was that popular, and at 1 o'clock on a Friday when we pulled in, it was already full. So we basically had to come up with a plan B.
Right, and I think we had a plan B for it, and we kind of had a plan C, but the campgrounds that we were going to were not that well maintained, or they weren't that popular, so we weren't even sure if they were going to be open. The website said they were, but we got to one of them and there was no entrance into it, so somebody said that it was probably a walk-up campsite.
You're talking about the hunting camps?
Right, there was a couple hunting camps that were our plan B. We also had a plan C of just pulling off onto the side of the road where there were some little pull-offs. Here in the southeast, there's not a ton of overlanding spots, so you have to kind of pull off onto the side of a road into like a little, sometimes there's like a little driveway there that you can pull off into, but there's not a lot of places to do overlanding in the southeast. Yeah,
so at this point we're at Brushy Creek, or is it Brushy Lake, whichever. You know, that's a small 13 campsite campground. Like Kelly mentioned, there were those hunting camps that, according to the websites anyway, the hunting camps are open year round, but we drove by one of them anyway and the gate was closed. So from there, we're out in the middle of Bankhead National Forest at a point where we had no cell signal, so no Wi-Fi, no anything to basically research and come up with that I guess plan C or D at that point.
Yeah.
So
we did have our we had the Gaia map, so we had the area downloaded, so we knew where roads were. We just didn't know how to get to things from there, like even to a major campground from there or a major city, to know where we can get cell service to even research and look up something.
yep. So at that point, obviously, we continued on down the path of driving through Bankhead, trying to get into a spot where we had a phone signal so we can make, possibly do a little more research or whatever. I know, Kelly, there's a few, I guess, whatever you want to call it, primitive camping spots that were right off the road that I wasn't too keen about because they were literally right off the road. It wasn't like you turned off and were down the road a little bit out of sight off the main road, main Forest Service road or whatever. It was literally almost just like a pull off the road. I wasn't too keen about that.
Yeah. I think that kind of leads into, you kind of have to know, not only have a plan A, B, C, D, E, Q, R, but you also have to have, know your partner's limits, who you're traveling with. Like for me, Steve knows, I'll drive all day on a 1-lane gravel road, muddy road, pulling the camper. That's fine, it doesn't bother me, but I do not like driving on the hardball or even like a 2-lane road where people are coming at me. I just don't trust other people and I'm not comfortable with it. So, when we get in that situation, we often get very frustrated with each other because we don't, we're frustrated because we want to be at camp and we don't know the answer at that point. So we're getting really frustrated with each other. So we kind of have to know each other's limits a little bit and then kind of know when to just let each other have a breather and have a break so that we don't, the whole rest of the trip's not ruined because we couldn't find that campsite for that night.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ended up using the Gaia to get back out to where we could call one of the other campsites that we had considered. Once we did call them, of course, it was a holiday weekend, and the one that we had, the closer one, Corinth Campground, it was full, so we pulled up in there. And so Corinth and Clear Creek are kind of owned by the same people, or
all part of the Bankhead National Forest.
So they could call each other, and they, know each other really well. So the lady there was really sweet, and she called down to Clear Creek for us to see if they had any openings besides the campsite that we had already had, because we knew that one was not available for that night. So we ended up, turning around there and getting to go to Clear Creek, which is where we already had reservations for the next 2 nights, for Saturday and Sunday, but it was,
I guess, not part of the adventure we were looking for, having that one night kind of overlanding, whatever, taking that route through Bankhead National Forest, staying a night at Brushy Creek, and then continuing on down the route we planned down to Clear Creek for the next 2 nights. So kind of, in that respect, kind of changed up the weekend a little bit, because we ended up kind of hightailing it at that point. Once we got confirmation we could get into Clear Creek that night, that we just basically hightailed it down there just to get settled and everything, and ended up being at Clear Creek for all 3 of the nights. And our intended path that we had through Bankhead National Forest was about 150 miles of dirt roads, Forest Service roads, whatever, and I think we ended up doing only maybe about 60 miles of it before we got back on the hardball and just hightailed it down the Clear Creek.
Yeah.
So
we ended up having to cut that back road driving, just seeing all the sights and driving through the woods. We ended up having to cut that short because we didn't have that option to camp there.
Yep. So I guess the biggest thing we're trying to say is basically, have a plan B, have a plan C, maybe a plan D, because these things come up, and not to stress each other out. Know each other's limits and not stress each other's out. So
definitely so. If it doesn't work out for your plan A, B, C, and knowing what your partner's limits are and you're still frustrated, just know where to hide the body.
Huh. All right, back to the video. With a new plan formed, we're back on the trail and heading further south. Eventually, we get settled in down at Clear Creek Recreational Area, and we filmed Kelly's first cooking video, so be sure to check that one out. We'll put the link in the description below. We ended up having a few chilly mornings, but blueberry pancakes always makes it better. Be sure to check out another one of our older videos where we actually do a campground review of the Clear Creek Rec area. We've stayed at Clear Creek many times before, and we really like having the waterfront campsites. But on this particular visit, this is the first time we've seen the water this low, and we ended up having a beachfront camping site, which opened up a lot of opportunities for extra hiking along the shoreline and just hanging out on the beach along the lake. Well, that's this adventure. I know we learned a lot about our planning mistakes, and hopefully what we passed on in this video will help you out in the future also. And as always, like and subscribe, and we hope to see you out there getting fresh air.